Hey everybody, it's Romania Black. So, it was brought to my attention yesterday. I'm recording this on June 10th, and yesterday in the Discord, Zero Anti Zero commented in the Discord and said, "Hey, did you realize it's been a year since you started watching Ace of the Diamond?" I was like, oh, I knew it was in June, but I forgot what day it was. And yeah, I looked it up, and man, times have changed. A year ago, I remember I had just came back. My family had gone on a vacation to the beach, and we'd been driving home for, I think it was a 10-hour road trip. And around hour 7 or 8, I remember thinking to myself, I was like, when I get home, what am I going to do? And I was like, I think I want to start watching Ace of the Diamond. I just got off the beach. I was like, I'm ready to go. So I stewed on it for like hours since then, the whole way home. And I was like, no, I'm going to watch Ace of the Diamond when I get home. And that's what started it. So lots of things have changed. I don't have my quarantine hair anymore. And also, look at that. Remember when I said I was going to watch just 2 episodes per week for seasons 2 and 3? What fun times those were. That was before I realized I was going to get hooked on this series. So, in honor of it being a full year since I watched Ace of the Diamond, I started the manga yesterday. Last night I started reading the manga. I have Amazon Kindle and they have like a free unlimited thing, and the full series in English of Ace of the Diamond, the original series, you can read for free. And I was like, okay, cool. So that's what I've been doing. And so I've made it to volume 3 last night. I was like, okay, so it is dawned on me that I only have, after this set of episodes, just 3 left before starting the manga. Oh, that's like, we got a month. This is the month warning until we start the manga for Ace of the Diamond, because Act 2 is about to end. The anime is about to end. The manga's not. The manga keeps going. So I'm going to start reading the manga to catch up. And I think I'll be able to catch up in 3 weeks, because I like plowed through 3 volumes last night. I was just sitting there reading like, yes. Man, what a trip. Seeing Sawamura from the start of his series, seeing Dead-Eyed Chris, seeing Furuya with his soft manga hair. It's weird seeing them all like as first years, and I forget just where Sawamura started from and how far he's come to lead to this point. So I feel like rereading the manga leading up to these last couple sets of episodes is going to give me a greater appreciation for where our boy has come from. And it may help to refresh my memory about some things as we go. But it has been a solid week since I've watched the last set of Ace of the Diamond. Ironically enough, I was just on vacation again, and so I'd watched ahead a little bit before I left. And so now I'm finally getting back to rewatching the series. It's been a good solid week since I've seen episodes 39 through 41, which is tragic because it ended on a cliffhanger. So I've had to deal with this cliffhanger for a week now. But we're going to watch episodes 42, 43, and 44 to see how the Seiho game ended up, right? We had to see how it ended up. Did they win? Did they not win? Last set of episodes, Koshu won my heart over. Him and Sawamura, the Mura battery, won me over. I do love Sawamura and Miyuki, don't get me wrong. I do love them. But there's just something special about the Mura battery, and I really like it too. So I'm like, okay. All right, you got me. But I do have a couple comments, actually, from the last sets before we start. Because I had some questions in the last set, and I was like, oh, if you guys want to comment down below and let me know. Some of you came through with flying colors. So yeah, Kessler, along with several other people, but I saw Kessler's comment first, noted that the silent treatment is a prank that is played when someone gets their first home run. And I think Kelsey shared a video in the Discord about this happening in real life in the major leagues. But yeah, so they basically just sit on the bench and just give the silent treatment until they're back in the dugout, and then they're like, oh yeah, you did it. So that's funny. It's funny on 2 levels, because 1, Sawamura didn't get the memo and Koshu is the one that was supposed to give it to him, so that's funny. And 2, because it was Masashi's like, Masashi's so just out of tune of it. He's like, wait, what? It's great. And then John Miller, along with Kelsey as well, noted that a junk pitcher is just a pitcher who is known for breaking balls more than their velocity, and they are not as known for having as much control. So, okay, that makes much more sense. And Kelsey added on saying that Season 1 Sawamura may have truly been considered a junk ball pitcher, but not now. Not our Sunshine Boy now. Nah. And he showed Seiho. He was like, oh, I ain't no junk ball pitcher. No. So that was really, really cool. But yeah, it's been a year. It's been a year with Ace of the Diamond, and I don't regret a second of it. It's my favorite sports anime. I freaking love it. I'm so excited to be going through the manga now. I hate that there's not any print releases of the English version. Be great if we had that. But no, there's just digital, but that's okay. That means I can just read digital. And I told everybody in the Discord that as I go through, if I see panels that I'm like, oh yeah, I'll probably post them in the Discord. I'll try not to bombard everybody, but maybe like a couple panels per volume. If I see like my favorite panels, I'll be like, oh yeah, or something that stands out. I've already seen like a panel of Zono and I was like, wow, he looks a lot different as a first year. But anyway, so yeah, episodes 42 through 44, I've talked enough. Solid 5-minute start. I'm so ready, y'all, to see how this game concludes. And the training camp with the Americans and the all Japanese All-Star Weekend, it's over too, so now what do? We're getting ready for the summer tournament to start, right? The summer tournament is going to start right as this season ends, and that's going to be so frustrating, but that just means that we'll have to go read the manga. So I've been told that everybody in the Discord reads the manga through Manga Decks because they don't have English translations of Act 2 yet. Sad days. So yeah, I'm gonna have to read through Manga Decks, and that's fine with me. Whatever gets us there, right? So let's not waste any more time. I'm ready to start episodes 42 through 44. I poured my coffee this morning. I was like, yes. I woke up and was like, it is time for Ace of the Diamond. So let's do this, shall we? We're gonna start episodes 42 through 44 of Ace of the Diamond, Act 2, and we're gonna start that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's go. Oh. Oh my gosh. So yeah, there's a lot to, there's quite a bit to talk about. I feel like I did a very good job of paying attention while taking my notes in this episode, but oh my gosh. There's just so much that happened, as per usual with Ace of the Diamond. Lots of nostalgia in this set of episodes. Lots of nostalgia. Lots of planning. Lots of good character development. Lots of things leading up to the draw. It's so weird because I'm starting to read the manga again and going back to season 1 when they first did the summer tournament draw, and it's so nostalgic and weird and seems like great timing that we're seeing the first years. We're seeing Yui and Masashi and Koshu go through the same thing that Sawamura and Furuya and Haruichi went through the first year. And so we're seeing all that like go full circle. But man, what a different experience, right? And it's so funny because you have back in season 1, you know, seeing Chris with his dead shark eyes there and Sawamura helping him through his injury. You see that kind of bond form, which granted though, Chris, going back and reading season 1 in the manga, Chris was so much more like just serious and detached at first, and Sawamura used his sunshine powers to slowly break him out of his shell. But you kind of have the same sort of dynamic with Sawamura and Chris Senpai as you do with Ono and Yui. But Ono and Yui, it's so much more affectionate and warmer and feels like a mentor relationship, whereas Chris was just struggling and Sawamura like broke him out of his shell, right? So there's that, which is pretty interesting. But yeah, God, I wanted to go back to that roster of them look at the players that they were considering, and I wanted to find that list there of the roster and who they were thinking about filling in the spots. Okay, so we got all those situated up. Okay, and just seeing what we've got here. So okay. So on the roster there, I've got it pulled up so we can go back to it and just kind of see who is left on the roster and off the roster. Okay. And I'll kind of write that on the back here of our top 20 players because I feel like we should have that listed. I know that we'll see them in the episode, but I like having the names of them all listed so we can kind of go through and see where we are at. But man, so that first segment with Mei and Miyuki on the train, and the fight to the death. So interestingly, it was a big Trojan horse. So Mei and Shirakawa, I feel like it was Shirakawa's plan. I feel like Shirakawa was like, yeah, let's do this. Let's give him this Trojan horse. I feel like the plan was to give Miyuki like a little something to take back to Seido to get their hopes up, being like, well, we figured out Mei's weakness. He raises his glove up just a little bit when he's about to do a change up. But Miyuki, the way his character is, because at first I was like, why are you telling him this? But that it fits in line with Miyuki's character so perfectly. And he almost didn't tell. Miyuki almost slipped up and didn't say it, but his conscience got the better of him, because Miyuki and Mei, their relationship has always been, I want to fight you at your best. Miyuki's like, I want to beat you at your best. I like a challenge. You guys are the ultimate challengers. I want to beat Inashiro at their best. And he's like, why would you give me this weakness? Like, it's so blatant. Like, it seems obvious. And so Miyuki's like, well, why'd you do that? He's like, I noticed this. And Mei's like, damn it, you figured it out. And the funny thing is, Shirakawa's over there like, you're giving it away that was our trick. But Mei is the same way as Miyuki. Mei's like, no, I want to face you guys at your best too. So he's like, yep, you figured us out. That was the trick. Ha ha ha. So I love that. I love that little line where Mei's like, we're going to fight you to the death. It's like, yes, the rematch. I'm fully convinced at this point that, especially after the blocks being decided, that with Inashiro being the one in the one spot in block A, it's going to come down to, if our crew can make it to the finals, it's going to be Inashiro versus Seido all over again. It's just a rematch from the first year. It's like 1 year later, it's a rematch. Oh my God. It's a rematch between these two schools. It's all leading up to this. I feel like it's only fitting that it's leading up to it. Now, will they beat them? I hope so. I'm rooting for them to beat them. That'd be the ultimate justice, is that they beat them. But I don't know if it'll come to that or not. It seems fitting that it would be, they were talking about possibly Miyuki in the semifinal and Inashiro in the final. That would seem like it would make the most sense. But I don't know if Yukushi will make it to the semifinal. I don't know. Sanada says he's going to fight for it, and he's got all fired up, but he's been injured, and Yukushi's lost some of their third years, and they've got a bunch of chaotic first years. I don't know. They've kind of had like a little bit of a slump, Yukushi has, so I don't know if they're going to be able to come back and make it to the semifinals. I don't know. It may be a team we're not used to, but I like that this set of episode makes it clear that it's not going to be easy. Seido is not going to... When you go back to season 1, Seido kind of got a little bit lucky at first, maybe, because some of their teams, I'm like, it's gonna be fun, and it's gonna be fun between this set of episodes and the next set of episodes. I'm gonna read a couple more volumes to try to get back to maybe the summer tournament of first year. So it's gonna be fun to see, like, how did those games measure up to how are these games going to be. So that's gonna be interesting to see. That's gonna be fun to kind of see how that works. But man, that's gonna be interesting. I'm gonna really like that. But yeah, so I like that they go back to they won the Seiho game. We won the Seiho game. A week of waiting to find out, and we won. And but poor Sawamura, he got swapped out the 8th inning. He let that one run go by, even though Kataoka told him no. And Kawakami and Yui came in to replace them, and they ended up winning, which I'm good. I kind of like Kawakami and Yui. I figure like they will be a good battery. Kawakami and Yui would be, they kind of have similar personalities. But yeah, but Sawamura made a new friend. Seiya is his friend, and I love that Seiya shows respect. He's like, I respect you, Sawamura. You got me fired up. It's like, Seiya kind of reminds me of a less socially awkward Kosei, if that makes sense. Seiya kind of reminds me a little bit of like a less socially awkward Kosei. Like, he's still kind of like stoic, like Kosei is, but he's not so much, he's more jockey than poet. Kosei is more poet than jock, and Seiya is more jock than poet. But he's made friends with Sawamura, and he's like, I respect you. Can't wait to see you in the summer tournament. It's like, aw, I like it. I like it a lot. But yeah, so we cut to Miyuki. Miyuki come back, and everybody, I love that everybody like swarms Miyuki, and they're like, how is Mei? What is this? What's going on? And the first thing out of Miyuki's mouth is, how's Sawamura? Of course it was. Of course it was, right? And they all start praising him. They talk about how he got taken out, but then they praise him. They're like, he brought the team together. He did all this. I'm so glad that Miyuki heard that. I'm so glad that Miyuki got to see the team recognize Sawamura and praise him and being like, yeah, he brought us all together. And damn, we got that shot of Sawamura. We got a little bit of Sawamura fan service in this. I was like seeing Sawamura like with his sculpted back muscles. I was like, all right, show our Sunshine Boy's been working hard. But Sawamura, I love that he's just not satisfied. He's like, no. He's like, I let the team down. I should have done more. Like, he's just so fired up. And then we cut to Sanada So we see all the different guys coming back from the All-Star weekend. We see Shunshin coming back. Inoue, I love when Inoue comes back and everybody's like, your head, you got hit, are you okay? And Mukai's like, what? Like, I just love that. But I love Sanada getting talked to by the third year that went on the trip. And Sanada was injured. That's not cool. Like, he was injured his first year, and now he's been injured again. And so that explains why maybe he didn't go. But apparently Yukushi's been in a slump. They've lost 3 games in a row. Raichi's like just sitting out there batting nonstop. So Sanada's like, no, I want to get fired up, and we need to bring the team together if we're going to go into this summer tournament and be good. So I like that Yukushi's kind of had a wake-up call of being like, yeah, no, you guys, we need to get it together if we're going to do well in the summer tournament. But I'm really sad. I don't like that Sanada's been injured. That's, oof. And he's the one that goes to get the draw, right? And they're number 117, so they're going to be in the same block as Ichidai third. The rivalry continues, right? So yeah, because Kosei was all about Raichi, so that'll be interesting. That will be an interesting matchup. Absolutely. So yeah, so I wanted to bring up this roster to see what we got here, because we have our players. So obviously, we don't know. They conveniently leave off 1st through 3rd. They leave off 1st through 3rd. Of course they do. Of course they do. Of course they leave that off. Of course they would. But I'm going to say that Sawamura is definitely on the roster, along with Miyuki and Furuya. So yeah, of course. We get that. And so then we have Haruichi in 4th. And then we have Kuramochi. And so Aso had already been on the list. Look at that. Aso had been on there. And then Tojo, Shirasu, got him on there. And then Kawakami, of course. And then Kojima, I'm not sure which one Kojima is. Is he the one? So we have some numbers missing. Kojima, I don't remember him exactly. But then we have Higasa. Higasa's on there. And Nakata. All right. And so then we're looking down here. We obviously know that Yui made it. Masashi made it. And Koshu made it. Poor Seido did not. Kaneda made it. Okay. And Mimura did not. Yuki, he made it. Seki did not. And neither did Harumi. So that leaves 4 players. We know Zono made it. All right. We know Zona did. I think, and we know Ono. Ono wasn't on here. Ono had made it. So that's 18. And then I'm trying to think, did Kawashima make it? Maybe. I need to look. We'll see. But yeah, so that's interesting. So that is interesting. And then let's see which players. We had a set of players at the end there showing who made it. Okay. So yeah, we have Miyuki. Okay. To fight. Let me see. Summer, yeah, was over before it started. Yeah, that's a sad thing. We'll talk about that. But I'm trying to see who is our remaining players. So yeah, Aso, Higasa, and them. And then the one guy, gosh, I wish I knew all their names. I think that Kawashima makes it. The last 2 players, I'm like, ugh. They're the only ones I'm not entirely sure about. Did I get Tojo on there? Kanemaru, got him on there. Okay. So Kanemaru, and I think Kawashima makes 20. Okay. Okay, yeah, I think, Kawashima makes 20. Yep, so that's our roster. So Sawamura, Miyuki, Furuya, Haruichi, Kuramochi, Aso, Tojo, Shirasu, Kawakami, Kojima, Higasa, Nakata, Yui, Masashi, Koshu, Kaneda, Zono, Ono, Kanemaru, and Kawashima. Okay. Whew. Oh, man. All right. So there we go. That's our 20 players. Whew. And just like last year, 3 first years make it. So I love that as soon as like Miyuki and Koshu have this nice moment together where they're just sitting there talking, being like, how is Sawamura? How's catching for him? All this. Sawamura just bursts in like a whirlwind, like a tornado. He comes in, he's like, and I love that all he wanted to do, he's like, did you end up being a battery with Mei, with Narumiya? And Miyuki's like, yes. And he's like, what, really? And then it's like Sawamura wasn't jealous, not jealous of Miyuki hanging out with the ex. All he wanted to know is, can you hit his pitches? Does he have a weakness? And Miyuki's like, no, he doesn't have a weakness. He's freaking good. He's better than he was last year. He does not have a weakness. And Sawamura's like, okay, can you hit his balls? And Miyuki's like, yeah, I'll hit him. And then that's all Sawamura wanted to know. He's like, okay, cool, great to see you guys. All right, great, have a good night. It's all put my mind at ease. We're great, we're good to go. And then he just leaves. And I love that Koshu's like, wow, he just comes in like a storm, doesn't he? Just like comes in, asks, demands, throws down Taurus energy, and then runs out like a bull in a china shop. And Miyuki's like, yep, that's pretty much it. So I love that Koshu's like, look, Miyuki, I want to learn the numbers from you, and I want to learn about Sawamura. I love it because, yeah, this is their last tournament. Miyuki's going to graduate after this. So Koshu's like, while you are my mentor, I want to learn all that I can so I can be a battery, so we can perfect the Muramura battery, because it's going to need to be a thing next year, right? And I love that Miyuki's like, okay, I can mentor this. I can do this. And so then, meanwhile, while that's happening, Furuya is asking Yui to like work with him. And it's like, oh, it's so much growth and such a turnaround from when Furuya was like, I don't want to practice with you, Yui. You're not good enough, to him being like, please practice with me. Let's do this. And Yui being like, he's like, I am not going to make you do anything. It's my job as the catcher to catch whatever you pitch. So that's an interesting dynamic, right? Because that's interesting because Yui is not a dominant catcher. He's not. Miyuki is a dominant catcher. Miyuki is like, you will do the calls that I give. Chris is a dominant catcher, right? They're the strategists, which is, it's interesting because Yui is a strategist. Like, he takes notes and he does his homework, but he doesn't have that dominance that like Miyuki and Chris Senpai have, or that like Harada has for Inashiro. Yui kind of strikes me more as like Itsuki with Inashiro, right? Which isn't a bad thing because Itsuki works pretty well with Mei. Like they have a pretty good battery because their dynamic works. Yui strikes me more like Itsuki, and I like that Terajima is showing us catchers that they're not all dominant. They're not all like demanding. They can be ones that want to work with their pitchers. I feel like Yui working with Furuya is kind of like how Itsuki works with Mei, which is a good thing, right? That's a good thing. That's not a bad thing. I like that. And then Ono's like, no, we'll all work together on this. And so we cut back and see all of them in high school, like what's going on, what's been happening during their classes. I love that poor Ono, he can't write with his broken hand. He's like, I guess I need to learn to write left-handed. And Ono's like, I'll take notes for you. And then all the other third years are like, I'll take notes for you, Ono, after he's done. It's like, okay, that's really sweet. I love that. And then Miyuki will never admit to Sawamura. He will never admit to Sawamura, but he tells Kuromochi, he's like, Haichu is a universal language. I'm like, you'll never admit that to Sawamura, not on your life, but you'll tell your BFF Kuromochi that. I'm like, I'm just waiting for Kuromochi to share that info with Sawamura. I'm just waiting for it. And then Koshu, his classmates think he's a wizard. Koshu's classmates think he's a sorcerer. They're like, is he casting a spell? Because he's sitting there like doing the glove, like holding how the glove felt catching the ball. They're like, is he casting a spell? I love that Koshu's classmates think he's this untouchable sorcerer that's like not even human. They're just like, is he real? Like, he's so hot, but he's so odd. It's like, it's great. But then, yeah, I thought that Miyuki's resolve about winning was very similar to Sanada's. I feel like Miyuki and Sanada have very similar resolves to getting stronger and winning the tournament. I feel like their motivations are very similar, right? And Miyuki has come so far in how serious he takes, because I think Miyuki's always taken baseball serious. That's been his one thing that he goes to for socialization and that he loves. But, you know, you look at first year Miyuki, rereading the manga, seeing like how much of a troll first year Miyuki was and kind of like a delinquent. And then second year Miyuki was kind of, you know, sort of the same way. But this third year Miyuki, he really has had to step up and mature. Like Yuki Tetsu made the best decision making Miyuki captain, because it made Miyuki grow up and it made him mature and take that maturity that Miyuki's always kind of had. He's always been kind of an older soul, and translate it into being a leader. And I feel like that dedication and that leaderly attitude that Miyuki's developed this last year is very similar to Sonata. Like Sonata was very much like, oh, I'll skip practice running. I'll kind of like fiddle around and show up at practice whenever. But this last year he's gotten really serious and realized how much he loves baseball. And it's like, I feel like Miyuki and Sonata have been on similar journeys, right? Except Sonata has had the injuries to deal with as well. So then I also like Tojo and Haruichi's friendship and how it's developed, like on and off the field, like them developing this friendship. That's pretty cool. They played three teams with 4 games, and they had 3 wins and 1 loss. And then it's June 15th, and everybody is planning out, the coaches are planning out the roster and showing how, I like how they showed Sawamura and Sawamura, Kawakami, and Furuya all had pretty balanced innings played, and then Kaneda and Kawashima kind of had like 3 or 4 innings that they pitched for, so that was good. But then June 16th happens, and we see who made the roster and who did not. And just like in season 1, Kataoka gives the speech to the third years that didn't make it and thanks them and bows to them. And damn, it's so sad, because you see, like, when Nabe started crying, I was like, no, our sniper, you knew he wasn't going to make it, but it's like, but he's still going to help the team, right? But it's so sad because Aso's friends don't make it, but Aso does, right? And he's like, it's not fair. It's not fine that you guys aren't here with me. And, Aso just being like frustrated that he made it, but his friends didn't. And then Ono being frustrated because he's like, yeah, I've worked hard for this, but damn it, I'm injured. I took someone's spot. And he's like, and you could tell Ono's frustration, and Yui's like, no, you deserve to be here. And I would argue, yeah, Ono deserves to be there, but it's just frustrating because he's injured. He's not going to be able to play for most of the tournament, and he probably feels like he's taken someone's spot, and it's frustrating to him, but yet he's happy he's there. And so Yui's like, man, I can't complain. He's like, we've got to work harder now because we took one of these third-year spots. We've got to step up our game. Kind of like what Sawamura and them realized last year too. It cut back to that flashback where Miyuki's like, you got to work your butt off now. It's like, But just like last year, the 3 first years made it. Yui, Masashi, and Koshu. Like, okay. And we have 19 days until the summer tournament. And for the third years that didn't make the top cut for 20, their baseball career in high school is effectively over. That's so sad. So sad. But yeah, so then we have episode 43, the summer training camp. So we got 19 days. We got 2 weeks of the summer training camp. I'd forgot about the summer training camp from season 1 until we started going through it. I was like, oh yeah, that was like our poor first year guys, Haruichi and Sawamura and Furuya, they were like dead. The season 1, they were like dead by the time they got to it, right? But they established on June 17th, there's going to be a press release for the team that they're going to get some media coverage. I liked Ochiai in these 2 episodes where he's realizing just how, because Ochiai wasn't here for the summer training camp in season 1. He was not. He wasn't here for Sawamura's speech back in season 1 to the other third years. No, he didn't see any of that, right? He just came on towards the end there as they were in the summer tournament. He didn't see all this training camp stuff. So Ochiai is like, man, I just got chills because the third years that you just told were not on the roster and their careers were effectively over, they still showed up. They were still there to practice. They still came and are giving it their all. And he's like, I got chills because you motivated them to still be there despite it all. And Ochiai's like, yeah. Or Kataoka's like, yeah, I know. And Ochiai's like, I want to give a speech like that. And I'm like, I don't know if you can, Ochiai. I think Kataoka's the only one that can get away with that because he's just... Kataoka at the end of it all, Kataoka still has that ace spirit. And it's almost like Kataoka... It's weird. It's not that Kataoka is living through his players, but he wants to inspire them and wants them to feel as inspired as he feels by them. And so him practicing with them, like being part of the team, like it shows that he's not just standing on the sidelines giving orders to them. He is a part of their victory. He is a part of their loss. And Ochiai's like, man, I wish I could do that, but that's not me. I don't see Ochiai like out there catching. I can't, even though Ochiai was a catcher, I just can't see that happening. But I love that Koshu and them, the third years, they're egging him on. They're like, yes, show us that you deserve to be on this roster. They're like, we're going to work your asses off to show that you deserve to be here. And Koshu is surprisingly, for as much as Sawamura calls him Wolf Boy and says he's like a wild animal, Koshu is amazingly polite and grateful. Like, Koshu is very proper and polite when it calls for it. He does growl like a wolf sometimes to Sawamura, which you get why. But he's very polite. He's like, thank you, okay, yes. He's a very polite person, and he's very grateful, and he communicates that a lot, right? Miyuki, we've talked about how Koshu and Miyuki are similar, but they are very different in terms of Miyuki's a troll. Koshu is not. But Miyuki, even though he has a mature soul, he's not polite and openly grateful like Koshu is. Koshu communicates it very well. Miyuki, even when he is grateful and polite, he doesn't vocalize it very much because that's just not Miyuki's style. But Koshu does. And so I like that they're in this practice going through all the scenarios, like showing all the different like situations on the field. Like, what if we have a runner on first and third and we got 2 outs? What do we do? Like, I like that they're doing all these drills. And then Sawamura with the natto. Now, okay, I know of natto from Banana Fish, the anime. And in Banana Fish, the character Ash, he's American, and he like gets the natto and he's like, what is this junk? And Eiji, who is one of the characters, he's like, oh, you should eat it, it's really good for you. And Ash is like, this stuff's disgusting. And just from the look of it, I think I'm with Sawamura. The Tauruses together, I think Taurus is all about decadent things and sweets and good food. Natto, even though it's good for you, it's like, I think I'd be a Sawamura. I think I'd be like, I can't eat that. And I love that he tries so hard and he can't do it. It's so gross. And I love that everybody's just like, he's trying his hardest, but he does it for Haruno. Haruno's like, I gave you something special. And he's like, I'll try. And it's like, honestly, if I were to ship Sawamura with anybody that was a girl in this series, it would not be Wakana. I really want Kuramochi and Wakana to meet. Wakana definitely is the childhood friend thing, but I would ship Sawamura with Haruno before I'd ship him with Wakana. I think he has more chemistry with Haruno than he does with Wakana. I think him and Wakana are just friends. They're platonic, right? And plus Kuramochi, I would totally dig Kuramochi getting with Wakana. That'd be great. But yeah, so they do the base running drills, and since there's only 20 players, they run like twice as much as everybody else. And so we lead up to June 19th, which is the third day of camp. And so far, it's amazing to see Sawamura and Furuya doing so well at this point in the training camp compared to how they were in season 1. But Koshu, I love that Koshu's like, WTF. Like, Koshu is just now seeing Sawamura's relaxed face. And he's like, what the hell is this? What is this fresh hell that you've given me, Sawamura? And Sawamura's like, I'm relaxed. He's like, are you trying to scare the batters? Stop confusing me. You're freaking me out. It's like, I love it. I love that Koshu's like, fix your face. I love it. It's so great. But his throw is getting better. Sawamura is getting up to 138 kilometers per hour. And Furuya's 148 average. But they're getting better, right? And so then I love that the third years are still giving advice. They're giving advice on the field like, hey, do this, do that. We don't want Seido's left field to be our weakest link, right? And we established that Aso has the fastest throw. Sawamura and Furuya compliment him, and he's like, shut up, you second years, leave me alone. And then I just love the little moment, and they touched back on it in episode 44, but when Furuya's like jumping up to get the ball and Sawamura's like, hey, no, do it this way. That's what I love about their rivalry. I love throughout these episodes that there is not jealousy between Sawamura and Furuya. It's not jealousy at all between these characters. It's Sawamura and Furuya wanting to make each other better, and neither of them want to lose, but they don't want each other to lose either. That is a healthy rivalry. When you have two characters who are playing the same position, they're trying to be the best that they can be, but at the same time, they're wanting to make each other better. And it's so funny because I'm thinking back to season 1 when Kataoka was like, oh, it was a big controversial thing back in season 1 when we were like, oh, we'll use Sawamura and Furuya's rivalry to make Furuya better. And it's like, at the time I was like, ooh, I don't like Sawamura being quote unquote used like that. But now that you see it a season and a half later, you're like, oh, no, Sawamura is not being used. Furuya is not being used. They're just making each other better, and they're using each other to spur each other forward to becoming the best player that they can be. and neither of them want to lose, but neither of them want the other to implode. And I'm like, that's a rivalry I can get behind. I'm like, yes, please. I'm all for it. And then Ochai just getting chills. I'm like, get all the chills you want, Ochai. Shudder all you want. I love it. So we established that Sawamura does not like natto, but we also established that Miyuki does not like the crust on the fried pork because he like takes it off. He's like, mm-mm. No, and Nabe's like, oh, you don't like it? He's like, mm-mm. So Miyuki is not about crusty like fried foods. Nope, Miyuki's keeping pretty healthy. I like it. But honestly, my favorite scene in the whole episode is the bath scene between Furuya and Sawamura. The bath scene's amazing. That's moments like that are what I live for in this series, for these characters to have these like heart-to-heart conversations about the sport that they both love and about themselves. And I love that they just can so casually talk to each other. Like Sawamura, they're reminiscing and talking and being like, man, just think of last year we were about dead. Like, can you believe it? And like, they're just their friendship developing. It's so wholesome. I love it. And Furuya being like, hey, are we gonna get everybody together in one of the rooms? I'm like, that's such growth, because Furuya came from not having a team at all. Like from middle school, nobody wanted to be on a team with him. And in the span of 2 years, Furuya's like developed this friendship with all of his players. And he's like, hey, are we gonna get together like we did last year? Like, isn't that our ritual? It's like Furuya wanting to do the team thing. It's so sweet. It's so sweet. And what makes it sweeter is knowing that Furuya didn't want to get together to play games. He doesn't like playing video games. He just wanted to be together because they were a team. It's like, it just makes my heart swell. I'm like, oh, I love it so much. And then, yeah, they get them all together and they're playing Smash Brothers. Of course, Haruichi is deadly at Smash Brothers. And it looked like Kawakami was like, I want to win. Like, I could picture Kawakami being like the type of person that Kawakami's like, I want to win. Like, when it comes to like a video game, he's like super like into it and aggressive. And then on the field playing baseball, he's like keeps calm, right? I kept thinking Haruichi, now that his hair is cut short, when he closes his eyes, he looks like Ryo. I thought Ryo was there for a split second. I was like, when did Ryo show up? Next to Kawakami, next to Kuramochi and Kawakami. But no, it was just Haruichi. He just had his eyes closed. I was like, oh my gosh, what? But yeah, I like that little moment too, where I don't think Miyuki likes video games either. Miyuki doesn't like video games, which makes sense. If you look at like his flashback, it seems like he grew up with his dad at the steel mill. They didn't have like a PlayStation or anything. So Miyuki doesn't like video games. Furuya doesn't like them either. But they just wanted to be there together as a team to celebrate that camaraderie between all of them, right? And then of course, Masashi shows up and he's like, I heard from my brother that you like shogi. It's like, you like shogi. So of course Miyuki's like, I'm not that good at it. It's like, I just love that there's this like legendary status of Miyuki Kazuya. And Miyuki's like, I'm not that good at this. What are you all doing? I just imagine that the Yuki family are like secret shogi giant enthusiasts, but Masashi and Yuki are just not good at it. And Tetsu aren't good at it, and they envy Miyuki for being so great at it. I'm like, oh my god, I love it. I freaking love it. Miyuki's like, what is this rumor spreading about me? But then Yui being surprised that Furuya offers to go get everybody a drink. And Yui's like, why is Furuya going? Why, he's the ace, or he has been the ace. And I like Sawamura's like, no, Furuya likes to run errands. He likes to go get stuff for everybody. And that's really cool about Furuya's character, because it establishes that he does like to do things for the team. He does want to help the team out the best that he can. And he's like, I'm not good at playing video games, so I don't want to do this, but I can just stand here, or if you guys need me to go get something, I'll go get it. Like, I feel like there's a friend in every friend group that is like that. There is somebody in every friend group that's like, oh, you need me to go get something? I'll go grab it. And that's Furuya. And I'm like, that's really cool. I like that Sawamura saying that he's known Furuya long enough to know that about him. That's really, really cool. I love it. So then, yeah, we cut to June 20th. Everybody's dead. But in that moment in the classroom when Sawamura's like, I've got to stay focused. I want to be the ace. I've got to stay focused. And Furuya drops his eraser and he looks up and sees Sawamura's like focused, like ace energy face. He's like, I can't give up either. So I just love that they just spur each other forward. They keep each other on their toes. It's wonderful. I love it. And then we get the assignments, and I guess Kokono, we haven't got Kokono explored yet. We've just seen a little bit at the end of episode 44. We saw a little bit with Sawamura, or we saw a little bit with Furuya pitching and Miyuki talking to him. So we've seen the first doubleheader. We haven't seen Kanada's game yet. We haven't seen the Kokono game yet. But apparently it's a big deal if Sawamura is starting as pitcher against them. So I think he's going to be the ace. But this series is just drawing it out, just letting it simmer. They're not going to give us any confirmation yet. I'm like, how dare you, show? How dare you? Of course you're not. And we're out on episode 44 at this point. So we only have 3 weeks left of episodes. We have 45 through 47. Then we have 48 through 50 and 50 through 52. I think the way that this series has gone, we are going to get to the very end of the deadline before the summer tournament starts. And then this season is going to end right before the summer tournament. I didn't see it coming. I really thought we would already get to like the middle of the summer tournament by the end of the series. But I don't think we're doing that. I think that season 4 is going to start out with the summer tournament. That's what they're building up towards. And several people in the Discord were saying that they think that the manga will end before the Act 2 will end before they animate all of season 4. And I wouldn't be surprised because season 2 was pretty much an entire tournament, right? Season 1 was like the whole summer tournament leading up to Nationals, and then season 2 is like the restart of everything. So yeah, I think that season 4 will be the entire summer tournament. They'll just animate the whole summer tournament, and that'll be the end of Act 2, whatever that ends up being. Of course it will be. Of course it will be. Why would we expect anything less? But yeah. So we cut to Sawamura and Kuramochi ending episode 43 with them singing, which is one of the most wholesome things in the world. I love it. And the song from Rock Bottom, There's Nowhere to Go But Up. If that doesn't describe our team Seido, coming from season 2 to now towards the end of season 3, like these last 2 seasons have been, season 1 was, you thought everything was great, things were going swell, and then you had that horrible ending against Inashiro, and then season 2 was like, we hit rock bottom, and we had to work our way back up to the top, and now we've worked our way back up, and we're still going. It also made me really sad. It was very bittersweet seeing Sawamura and Kuramochi singing like that, because it's like, on the one hand, it's adorable, but on the other hand, it's like, they're like, this is the last time they're going to be singing together like that after this year. So I don't want to think about it. I don't want to think about it. Nope. It's really, really freaking sad. Very sad. So then we have episode 44, setting sail, like getting ready to go against these last couple games before the summer tournament starts. And Ochi goes to the draw, like he said he would. We've got a doubleheader, so Furuya and Kawakami are going to pitch the doubleheader on Saturday. Kanada is going to handle Sunday, and then Sawamura is going up against Kokono, which Miyuki was surprised by. So there was that. And we don't get anything else about it because this series is keeping things close to the vest. Kuramochi, we get some establishment, like we still are at the training camp the last couple days. Kuramochi has officially switched over to batting left, and he's doing really well at it. Mei, they talk about Mei, and like, so he's that good. Yeah, Miyuki's like, no, Mei is that good. We can't handle his change-ups. They're just ridiculous. And everybody's like, oh shit. So he's like, what we can do is wait for his fastballs and his sliders. We can hit those. Like, that's where we need to go to. And Miyuki's like, we have to handle with a solid offense. We can't rely against just our defense against Inashiro. We have to be able to hit Mei's pitches. We've got to be able to do it. Like, that's just how it's going to have to go down. Right? And so I like that Kuramochi talks about Haruichi and Shirasu and how the three of them, they need to work together as like the 4th, 5th, and 6th batters to be the ones that like help Miyuki like get some relief. And then Zono's like, after Miyuki, I need to be able to like come up from behind and be able to like bat well to give him some relief as well. So I like that Zono and Kuramochi as our vice captains are talking about relieving Miyuki. They're talking about supporting Miyuki and backing him up as captain, right? And Haruichi and Shirasu are coming in to like help with that as well. So I like that conversation that they had. And just Zono just sweating. Zono just drenched in sweat, being like, I have to keep my swing count up. Otherwise, I'm not satisfied. It's like, ooh, I love it. I love it. But yeah, so Kanemaru and Sawamura, their bunts are getting good. Sawamura's getting good at the fake bunt. I like it. And then Tojo's getting good as well. But Ochiai is talking about how to Kataoka, he's like, we've really come a long way since season 2 in developing our offense that can handle the pitches of any pro league pitcher that comes our way. So he's like, you're trying to tailor this offense to where they can overcome pitchers like Kosei, like Mei, like Sonata, like those that would give us a hard time in the summer tournament. And Kataoka's like, yeah, and we are united in our goal. I love that, man. And when Ray was like, man, this feels nostalgic. Remember back to season 2? That whole flashback of them at season 2 where Kataoka was yelling at them. Oh, that was like, I was not ready to go back to season 2. I was like, I'm glad we've left those dark days behind. Because those were rough. I was like, ooh. And man, I feel like it's so interesting that they flash back to that to show just how far our boys have come. They have come a long, long way. And yeah, the idea that as a team, we're united. That as a team, we're united in our goals. And our goal is to be the best team for nationals that we can be. But even Kataoka's like, it's not enough. He's not satisfied. He's still hungry. And I love that it shows him like practicing with them. Like he wants it as bad as they want it. And he wants them to want it as bad as he wants it. I love that conversation that he has with them where he's like, and he tells Miyuki, he's like, how did you feel at Koshin? Like, how did you feel at nationals? And Miyuki's like, well, everybody else was cheering us on, and it's great that we made it as far as we did, but we were only able to barely hold off a run against Hongo and them. He's like, I felt frustrated the whole time. And Kataoka's like, yeah, that's how I felt every time we've gone to Koshin. He's like, when I first went 7 years ago, and he brings up Sakaki, and it's like, and he gets brought up at the end of this episode. I'm like, oh, of course we're tying it full circle, right? He's like, when I took over from Sakaki, he's like, we were at Koshin, and he's like, I wasn't satisfied. I felt frustrated. And he's like, I've always felt frustrated at nationals because I know we can do better. He's like, I know we're better than this. And so I love that. I love that he's just like, the quarterfinals aren't enough. And it's like, And so, and Ochiai's just sitting there shuddering the whole time, like, I'm just getting chills. But yeah, Kataoka practicing with them and being like, I want you all to want it like I want it. It's like, and them all slowly standing up just like in season 1 to keep going the third years. It's like, yes. And so Sawamura is saying we're as strong as we were last year. Like they finally have reached the point where he's like, we are as strong as we were last year, but we've got to keep on growing or we're not going to make it, right? As strong as we were last year only made us to finals. He's like, we got to go beyond that, right? And again, the moments with Furuya and Sawamura, the moment where him and Furuya at the same time, they're like, I thought they were going to say, I'm going to be the ace, but they're like, no, I'm not going to lose. And they both like look at each other like, Jinx, you owe me a soda, like that moment. But then they will smile at each other. The episodes like this with Sawamura and Furuya like this, it's what I live for. And I love that Sawamura has come so far as a character. When he overheard those guys talking about, whoever starts the game is going to be the ace, he didn't get himself worked up. He was like, why am I hiding? He's like, why do I care if they're talking about me or Kawakami or Furuya? He's like, I can't change it, right? He's like, whatever Kataoka decides, he's like, I've got to go with it and do what's best for the team. Like that growth that Sawamura has from, if he was a first year, he would have been like, I've got to be the ace. But now he's like, if I'm the ace, I'm the ace. Like, I'm going to keep doing what I got to do to become it. I'm not going to lose. But he's like, I'm not just going to sit here and whine saying that I have to be the ace. He's like, no, I've got to just work my hardest. And if I get that position, then I deserve it. It's just, I love that he has that moment. But him and Furuya smiling at each other, I love it. I want Sawamura to be the ace so bad, but I feel like Furuya's in a place too where if he's not the ace, he's still going to support Sawamura and still going to be like, I'm going to work to get that number back from you. I feel like that's where Furuya's going to be, but we don't know yet. We don't know how it's going to go. And so then we get on June 21st, we get the draw. We get the draw between them, right? We finally get the draw. And so Inashiro, of course Inashiro is number 1 in Block A. Of course they are, right? So Inashiro, we don't see any team in Block A with Inashiro. So it may be one of those scenarios where they don't even show us Inashiro until we get way down in the series. They may just show them like bouncing through teams left and right? But we get Ichidai. Third is number 128. Yakushi gets 117, so they're in the same block, probably going to face each other. They're in block D. We get a bunch of other teams named, but none really that stood out against Seido in block C. There was a lot of block Bs, a lot of block Ds. Seido is number 65. And so we'll cut back to Urasogo. We'll cut back to them at the end of this. But they face their game. They have a 9-5 win for Seido with Furuya leading, and Miyuki tells me did a good job. I really do, you know. As much as I ship Miyuki and Sawamura, and as much as I love their battery, I do like the dynamic and battery that Miyuki and Furuya have. I really do. It's grown on me a lot this series. I didn't know how I felt about it at first, but Miyuki and Furuya are quite similar characters in terms of their personalities. They're both kind of more quiet. They're naturally more introverted characters, but because of Miyuki's position, he has to be loud and communicative. He has to be a leader. Like he has to do it whether he wants to or not. But I feel like Miyuki can connect with Furuya on an interesting level because, like when they were doing the whole Smash Brothers game as the team, Miyuki kept looking back at Furuya like he understood exactly what Furuya was thinking. So I do like the battery that's developed between them. I feel like I'm going to like if we see more with Yui and Furuya. I feel like those two characters are going to connect, and I like that. But yeah, I feel like Miyuki's good for Furuya. I can see why he wants him to catch for him. And then the whole time, Furuya's, again, because Sawamura is our precious saint cinnamon bun, our little spicy churro, the whole time that Furuya's pitching, Sawamura's cheering him on, right? And I feel like that's come a long way. It's come a long way from the beginning of this season, where Sawamura was jealous of the time that Miyuki and Miyuki and Furuya got together. It's come a long way from him being jealous of that time they've got together to now cheering Furuya on and being like, yeah, let's go. Like, they've come past their petty pride for themselves to focus on their pride for the team as a whole. That's been the big transformation this season, has been from these players developing pride for themselves as players to transforming and taking that pride for themselves and transferring it to pride to the team as a whole and working with the team as a whole. Like, I love that transformation that's happened this season. It's really, really good. And then, yeah, Yui, I still feel bad for Yui, because Yui at this point, Yui's like, the team doesn't need me as a catcher. It needs me in other respects. It needs me to be like a batter, and it needs me to be an outfielder. And Koshu's just kind of like, oh. Like, because this whole time, Koshu has thought that Yui was his biggest rival aside from Miyuki. Like, Koshu's like, I've got to be better than Yui. I've got to be better, as good as Miyuki and better as Yui if I'm going to be a starting catcher. And for Yui to say to Koshu, the team doesn't need me as a catcher. I was waiting for Koshu to be like, no, they do. I was waiting for Koshu to like get back to him about that. And he may, in future episodes, we may touch back on that and him be like, no, you need to be a catcher too. What would Ono say? Like, what would Ono say if he'd heard you say this? He'd be like, no, you've got to be a catcher, Yui. But I feel like Yui is going through this, like, identity crisis. I feel like Yui and Tojo have a very similar vibe to them at this point, that Yui's like, well, I'm not being needed. Because Tojo went through that motion where he was like, I'm not needed as a pitcher, so I'll just be an outfielder and be this. But then Tojo decided, no, screw that, I'm going to be a pitcher, and worked his way back up. And I feel like Yui's going to go through the same motions, where right now he's doubting himself as a catcher, but I feel like Koshu and Ono are going to encourage him, and Furuya is going to encourage him and be like, no, you still need to try to be a catcher, but you can also be these other things too. You can be a jack of all trades, my friend, and be fine. And so, and Yui's kind of getting that point where he says, I'll do whatever I can now to help the team. I feel for Yui. I want Yui to get more confidence in himself. I feel like that whole situation with Ono back in the last set really affected him back 2 sets ago. I feel like that whole incident really affected Yui, and I want it to transform from something negative into something positive. So, right. But then we end the episode. We end the whole thing with Kataoka's team. We figure out that Sawamura's like, what's this one team? They sound familiar. And it's Yurasogo, which is the team that's coached by the guy that Kataoka took over from Sakake. So we're gonna start this tournament out with possibly Seido facing a team coached by Kataoka's former mentor. Why not? I feel like that's gonna be the passing of the torch. If they can beat Yurasogo, then Kataoka's former coach, his former mentor, is gonna be like, okay, all right, you guys are ready. Like, I feel like that's gonna be the coming of age, the ultimate passing of the torch, because Kataoka took over from him as coach of Seido, and now he's being challenged by him. Back when Kataoka was in his darkest place and was considering leaving the team, Sakaki was like, "Don't you dare leave! Don't you run away, Teshin!" It's like, I just feel like now it's all leading up to this. And I don't know if we're going to face them before the end of the season, though. It would be cool. We've got, how many episodes we've got left? We've got 3, 6, we've got 8 episodes left. Oh my God, we have 8 episodes left. We have 8 episodes left, y'all. Oh my God. So yeah, we have 8 episodes left. No big deal. No big deal, not at all. We have 8 episodes left. So in those 8 episodes, we could face... We said we had 19 days left until the summer tournament, but that was 19 days before the summer tournament was back on the 16th, and now it's the 21st. So that we've got like 2 weeks left. So I mean, on the one hand, I think I'm torn, because I think on the one hand, in 8 episodes, we could do the build up to the first game of the summer tournament, and season 4 is going to start out with the summer tournament proper. Or we could get into that first game, right? And go from there. So I don't know which it's going to be. But we'll find out next episode, right? We'll find out next episode. So I'm going to be reading the manga. I'm going to be reading the manga and catching up. I'm going to be doing that. I'm going to be slowly reading the manga and catching up to Act 2. I'm reading Act 1 right now, but I'm going to have to, in the next 3 weeks, do a lot of reading. I'm pretty much caught up with my other manga readings that I was going to do, so my goal for the rest of June is going to be reading Ace of the Diamond. What a reading assignment, right? Darn the luck. So my summer reading right now is going to be Ace of the Diamond to catch up so that I can read the manga alongside you all once this season has completed. But oh my gosh, y'all. I'm pretty excited, right? I'm both sad. I'm very bittersweet at this point because we have 8 episodes left. I'm not ready to end this season, but I'm ready to read the manga, but then I'm not ready to catch up. But yeah, so I'm going to be reading the manga, and I'll let y'all know next set of episodes how far I've gotten, and go from there. I'm a pretty fast manga reader. That's my thing. I can read manga pretty fast. So we'll see how far I get through between now and then. But I'm curious to know your thoughts down below. These 3 episodes were so bittersweet. So many good moments, so much nostalgia, but I'm ready to see our boys. I'm ready to know who the damn ace is, and I know they're going to wait till the end of the season to tell us. They're going to wait. If they don't tell us by the end of the season, I'm not going to be a happy camper. I'm going to be like, are you freaking kidding me? If they end up this season and don't tell us who the ace is, I'm going to be like, oh my God. But maybe they will. I don't want spoilers though, so no spoilers. But in the meantime, I hope y'all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe. Take care. And yeah, I will be back next week with episodes 45, 46, and 47 of Ace of the Diamond Act 2. Bye.